provided to the Burnsville News, Courier News, and the Star Ledger, filed with the municipal clerk, and posted on the municipal bulletin board on December 24th, 2020. We will now stand, I gotta find this, wait a minute, bear with me. Let me share my screen. And we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chad just came in, and Matt, okay. Great.
Matt, your hand up for a reason?
All right. So I have my proclamation to read for Knockout Opioid Abuse Day. So got that. Up there. Whereas New Jersey is in the midst of a life-threatening opioid abuse epidemic, and whereas the Partnership for Drug-Free New Jersey has designated October 6th, 2021 as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day, an initiative with multiple purposes to raise awareness of the potential for dependency on prescribed pain medicine and its link to heroin and fentanyl use in our state, to reduce the stigma of addiction and shine a light on the need for recovery support, and to communicate to physicians information on safer prescribing messages found in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines for prescribing opioids, which include considering other therapies, setting realistic treatment goals with patients, and discussing with patients the positives and negatives of opioids. And whereas the State Senate and General Assembly jointly resolved that October 6th shall be permanently designated as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in New Jersey, in order to raise awareness about the dangers of and the link between prescription opioid abuse and heroin addiction, and to educate healthcare providers, community leaders, state lawmakers, and members of the public about the opioid abuse epidemic and its effects throughout the state of New Jersey and across the country. And whereas the Borough of Bernardsville supports initiatives designed to raise awareness about opioid abuse in New Jersey and take steps to prevent addiction. Now, therefore, I, Mary Jane Canosse, Mayor of the Borough of Bernardsville, do hereby proclaim October 6th, 2021 to be recognized as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in Bernardsville. All right. And I know, Community in Crisis has been doing a lot of work also this month. So whatever they need from us, we will certainly be there to help them. Okay. We have more people coming in. Where are you? Approval of minutes. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 9th and August 18th and September 13th, 2021?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstained from the September 13th. I wasn't at the meeting.
All righty.
Thanks.
Okay, we are now in our open session. So if you would like to make a comment or speak or read a statement, you will have 3 minutes to do so. Anthony will be holding up the little timer. Please give your name, address, and should either just raise your hand or do it with the a little mechanical hand if you can do that. So Sam, I know you wanted to speak, so I will turn it over to you. Just unmute. There you go.
Yeah, it always takes me a second. Thank you so much.
I am Sam Frenda, and I am a current member of the Board of Education for the Somerset Hills School District, and I am also the chair of the Community Relations Committee. I am here tonight just to let everyone know that starting in October, we will begin the process of developing a new strategic plan for our district. This is a process that is facilitated by our New Jersey School Boards Association representative and requires robust participation from a diverse representation of community stakeholders. You do not need to be a parent of a student in the district. We invite our neighbors, friends, business owners, council members, our mayor, teachers, administrators, law enforcement, veterans, anyone who has an interest in helping to determine the direction of our school district over the next 3 to 5 years. You will not only have an opportunity to provide input on future direction, but also what you perceive to be current strengths and the needs of the district. We will work together to create a shared vision that will guide our work and focus. We will kick off this endeavor on October 21st with our first meeting. More details will follow and be sent directly to Council and Mayor Kpis, and will also be sent directly to our school community. This is the opportunity to have a direct impact on the direction of our schools, and we hope you will consider joining us for one or all 3 of the working sessions. If you do not currently have a student in district, but would like to participate in this process, please email our superintendent, Dr. Dempsey, at gdempsey@shsd.org with a subject line that simply says strategic plan participation interest or something to that effect. She will make sure you're included in any communications that are sent out by the district. And please always feel free to contact me with any questions at bdsfrenda@shsd.org or through the district website. Thanks so much for giving me a few minutes tonight.
Okay, thank you, Sam. And I just want to say I participated in the last strategic plan that you did, which I think it was an outside consultant. It was a very involved process, but really a wonderful experience to be part of. So I would highly recommend, if people want to have their voices heard and have some input, it's a really great process to go through. And also, having been a school employee, a school business administrator, we have used school boards to do strategic plans where I worked, and they do a great job. So I think it'll be a really good experience. So thank you for inviting us.
Sam, is there any guidance on the number of folks that you're looking for these workshops?
So no, there actually isn't. Historically, we've had about 30 to 40 community members who have participated. Obviously, things will look a little bit different this year because of COVID and local health guidance, but it still will be, will be small group working sessions, and we will guide how that looks and what that looks like and what facilities we utilize based on what kind of participation we get. There will be a pre-registration process though, so that we are able to track how many people intend to participate, and we can provide appropriate distancing and facilities and whatnot. So unless by some chance we got like astounding turnout, there's no cap. The more, the better.
Is there anything that you need from a communications perspective from the borough? I know the mayor has a newsletter, and we do have some communications means, or I know that you guys communicate quite a bit. So
no, but and part of me wanting to be here tonight, and I will come back in October again, is because we really do want the community to be out, and if council can facilitate that in any way, that's remarkable. But we will be sending communications directly to you guys with information. And any way you want to promote
if it's
that.
okay, if any of those communications get turned around and sent out in an official capacity.
I will double check with Gretchen, but I do not see any reason why that wouldn't be all right, as she's trying to expand the reach as far as possible.
Yeah. I think we can put something on our webpage as well, can we, Anthony? If it's for the schools. Yeah.
Sure, we can put that on the
and
website.
We can also put it on our Facebook page as well. So
yeah, this is a community endeavor. So
right.
For sure.
Sam, what exactly is this strategic plans, like facilities, budget, curriculum? Is it?
Yes. It's everything. So there will be, it will be broken down into different areas, many of which you just covered, but there will be facilities, there will be wellness and mental health. There will obviously be curriculum. All of our committees essentially that are in existence, and anything else that is gleaned but through New Jersey School Boards Association, any recommendations of that nature. But, most of the work, she will facilitate, but most of the work we're going to do is guided by the community. There's no preconceived agenda or notion on behalf of the school board. This is an input session.
Can you help me out and understand what what exactly you're asking of the community? Are you asking for people who want to volunteer to make a statement to the committee, or you're asking
No,
people who want to join
be,
the workshop? So I'm
yes.
trying to figure out what the commitment in terms of time. I mean, people would want to know what they're signing up for if they write the Superintendent Dempsey. So
Certainly,
what exactly would be the activity?
There are 3 total workshops. You do not have to participate in all 3. I don't have 100% of the details because they are ironing everything out with our NJSBA representative, but they are slated to begin around 7 p.m. They would last a few hours on that given evening. And then if you want to continue the continuity and participate in the following 2, that's fantastic. If you only have time to participate in 1, we welcome the participation in that capacity.
Thank you, Sam, and thanks for reaching out to us. I personally appreciate it very much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for the time.
You bet. And you'll keep us up to date on when you have more information. So that'll be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the public wish to be heard at this time? I am not seeing anyone. So I will close the public session. And I will open a public hearing on ordinance 2021-1893, establishing small accessory mechanical equipment setbacks in residential zones and supplementing and amending Article 12 of the Borough Land Development Regulations entitled Zoning. And again, this is the ordinance that allows for air conditioning units and generators in some of the neighborhoods where their lots are smaller. Anyone wish to be heard on this ordinance? And I will close the public hearing. Chad, would you move that, please?
Yes, I'm happy to, Mayor. I move to pass ordinance 2021-1893 in final reading and adopt as published.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Mrs. Mara.
Yes.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-1895 concerning land development application procedures and amending Article 2 of the Borough Land Development Code entitled Planning Board and Article 3 entitled Zoning Board of Adjustment. And this is now requiring digital submissions of applications as well as hard copies. Yes?
Yes, it is correct.
Okay.
And I have answers to Jeff's questions once this gets moved. And
Well, right now we're in the public hearing, so if anyone has comments, questions from the public. I am not seeing any, so I will close the public hearing. Chad, would you like to move it?
sure. I move to pass ordinance 2021-1895 on final reading and adopt as published.
Do you have a
I'll
second?
second.
And Mayor, if we can just pause, because I know that Councilman Hammond had some questions, specifically around the quantity of paper applications. Jeff, so we did deliberate on this in the planning board. And to be honest, look, I think over time we're moving to an all electronic submission. However, the planning board is not quite to the point where an all electronic submission is possible. And to make sure that the number of paper submissions that we get is sufficient to accommodate both boards and in every circumstance, the number was chosen to be the minimum that would meet that requirement, even though it's relatively large. And I think we all agree to it. However, you know, the issue is not everyone, whether they're professionals, whether they're engineers, or frankly, even planning board members at this point are willing to go to an all electronic environment.
Thank you. Other
Well,
questions?
that's interesting. That I was fine up until that last sentence. If they're unable to do it because of the capabilities, that's one thing. But if they're not willing to, I'd like to know why they're not willing, because all this paper
Yeah.
generates a cost to the applicant, a significant cost of photocopying, and not to mention all the, trees we're destroying for all the paperwork. So
there are two reasons to that question, Jeff. One of which, there is a lack of capability. There's a large degree of age population on these variety of boards, and there are some older members that currently don't have the ability. The other issue is many of these applications, if you look at a blueprint, and I'm looking at my desk, I'm talking like an Italian, but I'm not an Italian. The blueprints are the size of your desk. So they're relatively large, and if you're not capable, it's very difficult to navigate through an electronic environment for some folks. And that seems to be the basis of the decision.
So why do electronic at all then?
Because there are certain folks on the planning board, myself included, which have no interest in accumulating stacks upon stacks of dead trees in my office.
Okay, that's fair.
So I'm pushing them in that direction, and I think there's others that are going in that direction, but the professionals and as well as many of the members are not quite there yet.
Okay, so this is kind of the first step.
That's the way that I left it after way too long a conversation on Thursday.
I think we moved from, I don't remember how many teens up to, I believe, 19. Why not just take a poll of who would like it electronically and who would like it on paper, and say from year to year, you have to produce X number. I'm just trying to make things easier for the applicant.
We had that conversation, and the issue is number one, this is an ordinance and something that's expected and published. Number two, members of the planning board change from time to time. And number three, their needs and desires based on their current location changes from time to time. So there was a lack of consistency, because I brought up that same issue, Jeff. And at the end of the day, there was no willingness to go to a less defined number.
So does this ordinance sunset at any time? How do we revisit this? At some point in the future, the council, when you and I may not be on it, when are we going to look at this again?
So I think, look, this is an issue that is very much individualized and individual, right? I think this is going to be dependent on the individual, Jeff. I don't think you need to sunset this. I think we're going in that direction, and folks, as they see things go and we start to change over various things, it'll go there naturally.
Jack, did you want to comment on that? This never
No, I
says
was just going to say we'd have to amend the ordinance again.
every time.
We can diary it for some point, a year from now or something, take a look at it, but that's the only way to do it.
And I think what'll happen is, as the planning board starts turning over, it will come up again, because people will be, why are you giving me all this paper? I don't need it. So I think it'll be an ongoing.
That was me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I think the answer was, please stop sending it to my house.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Amara,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
No.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
All right. I am now going to open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-1896, an ordinance amending the Borough Tree Protection Ordinance and supplementing and amending Chapter 13 of the Borough Code. Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Mr. Donahue, would you like to move that?
I will. I move to pass ordinance 2021-1896 on final reading and adopt as published.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, comments, questions?
Well,
All right.
I had objected to this before on the language, and I thought they were going to amend it. And I think what they've taken is a badly worded ordinance and made it worse. There's still contradictions in it, and I still think it's got some onerous, heavy-handed language in it. I'm just trying to find it here online. But there's a section,
I thought we took out the section about the dead trees, didn't that, after last meeting's discussion?
they took out that particular wording, but there's an additional underlined wording in here that replaces it, I believe, that is still pretty heavy-handed. I'm just trying to find it here on
Page 21?
Dropbox. Sorry?
Page 21, that's where the underlining starts.
Oh, thank you. Oh, actually, no, that's not 21 on mine here, I'm afraid. Oh, here we go. It's thank you. Yes, it is. So in section 13-6 of subsection B, and it talks about dead trees, it says it's one of the exemptions from getting a permit, but it also says that you have to have prior consultation with the tree conservation officer and prove to the satisfaction of the tree conservation officer that a removed tree was in fact dead at removal. Sounds a lot like a permit to me. It certainly makes extra work for the applicant. And then if you look at section 1318.3, which is the underlined section, it's pretty powerful language here, and it's criminalizing people. I just think this is not the approach we should be taking. I know the intent. I'm all for it. Having sat on the Shade Tree Commission, I understand it, but there's got to be a better way of doing this.
This is,
If all ordinance violations are quasi-criminal, it's the only way we can enforce them, by incorporating section 1-5 of the code, which sets forth the penalties, but that's true of every ordinance in the code book.
Well, I guess what it says here, and actually it does actually address tree removal construction companies. I'm not sure what that's defined as, but I think that's an important thing to do. But it says all persons in the business of removing trees should be unlawful for any person or company to remove or cause to be removed or to undertake any work for which a permit is required pursuant to the chapter, unless a valid permit is in effect. But then if you go back to the previous section I referenced, that basically says it doesn't matter whether you have a permit or not. You still have to go to the tree removal officer, or the tree conservation officer.
what we're doing right now, Jeff, this is the existing ordinance. We're amending it at this point to include, based on what happened with the Ross Doherty case, is to make sure that any outside company is equally as responsible as the owner. That's the point of this amendment. If you want to rewrite the whole ordinance, that's a whole nother job.
I think you actually just phrased it really well, Mayor. I mean, that one sentence is all we really needed to say, is that the company doing the removals is liable as the person is the owner.
But that doesn't obfuscate your other issue on 6B, Jeff, which is a language about tree conservation consultation for dead trees, which is in the original ordinance if we're going to modify it.
Right.
As I read this now, if you have a dead tree, you have to go, essentially, instead of getting a permit necessarily, you still have to go to the tree conservation officer or his or her designee and demonstrate to them that in fact it's dead, which probably would require a visit from them. I just don't understand why we're putting public through this.
I mean, I think in the end, though, Jeff, what would probably happen here is that the owner would have to give, or the company that's removing it would have to give an invoice stating that they removed X amount of dead trees and that they were dead based on their observation. And in that case, then, as long as it's less than 5 for 5 acres or less than 3 or less with 3 acres, then they wouldn't need to go to the TCO.
And as the mayor said, that's in the existing ordinance.
Yeah.
We can go back and make other changes, but the sole purpose of this ordinance, well, there was a minor purpose too, but the main purpose of this ordinance was to make tree companies liable.
Jeff, I think the fundamental basis of your question, right? Really, you're asking is if a tree is dead, does anyone need to see it before it falls down in the forest? I can see this going both ways, right? I mean, because it's very easy to say something was dead after it's been cut down, chopped up, and taken away.
But
You certainly could take a photo, but
we're not rewriting this ordinance right now. Right now, we're voting on this amendment that's presented before you. So, and I think it's important that we move on this because that was a serious condition when when the contractor didn't or was not responsible. And I think that's an important piece. We can pass this now and go back to Shade Tree and ask them to rethink the wording on this.
Yeah, I think your point's well taken, Jeff and Chad. You would agree. I think we need to plug the dike right now with this, and then then maybe revisit the more holistically after this is in place.
John, you're the Shade Tree representative, right?
Yes, I never make a meeting though because I always when I'm at work.
this is since I've been on the council, I believe this is the third rewrite of the Shade Tree Commission and ordinance. In fact, I participated, I think, in the first one for sure, and maybe it's the second. It's really something that I think really needs to be relooked at, and we have to do it right. This is not the first time we've looked at it. I'm a big believer in not having to come back and do patchwork stuff, but let's do it right the first time. Chad, you and I have worked on trying to simplify all these ordinance language going back to when we did the sign ordinance and walked around town looking at all the signs. This is not simplifying the process for the homeowner.
Well, but
I think the problem that we're trying to solve is we're losing sight of that. And the mayor brought us back around to that. There's a problem that we're trying to solve right now. And that is that a tree company can come in to a client, a client resident that hired them and remove trees without any responsibility. They don't have to get a permit, and they can just say, "Oh, I didn't know I needed a permit," and they're off the hook.
The penalty,
and we need to avoid that.
But the penalty goes to the homeowner. Help me out here, Mr. Pigeon. If in fact there's a violation of this ordinance, who has to make it whole? Who, in other words, has to provide the new tree, or who has to pay the fee into the shade tree fund? It's the homeowner. It doesn't say that the construction company does it.
This section applies just to the penalties, not to the replacement. So
Yeah,
I think that's the point, Jeff. It's making it jointly liable.
This is saying a tree removal company that removes trees without a permit can get fined, but it's not moving the burden of replacing the trees or any of those remedies to the tree company.
Mayor, may I?
Do they both get fined, or do they
They
split
can
the
both get
fine?
fined, yes.
Let Tom
They both get fined.
the chair recognizes Tom.
Mayor, Jack, just so I'm clear, the way I'm reading this is that it simply states that a contractor has to comply with the prior provisions of the ordinance.
That's correct.
It's not expanding what that contractor is responsible above and beyond what we're saying has to happen in A and in B. So it's not you don't need it doesn't expand the intensity of the permitting required. There's still leeway in A and B for things to happen. It just says it applies to the contractor. So that's really all it's doing. It's not changing the scope of what's allowed and what's not allowed.
So I have a question about, sorry, Mayor.
I was just going to say, I think what Jeff's point is, the existing ordinance needs some work. And I agree with that. And I think that is the responsibility of the shade tree to give us an ordinance that we feel is consistent and not as tough on the homeowners. It's just right now, what we need to do is just do this one section.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Section 13-20 puts the replanting obligation on the homeowner if trees are removed in violation of the ordinance, not on the tree company.
Right, but at least this now gets the tree company aware that they don't, they're not gonna just come in and take down the trees without checking to see, did you get a permit?
Permit, that's right.
They are now gonna have some liability. Gina, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask actually along those lines, how are we supposed to notify the companies that are doing this, that our ordinance has changed?
We've developed a list over the years of companies that typically work in our
the town?
municipality and
Okay.
landscape firms, and we'll get the word out to them.
Okay, good. Okay, so we ready to vote?
Yes, roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
No,
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. McQueen,
Yes, but I urge John to take this back and redo it and send it back.
Yeah,
Will do.
Ms. Mara.
Yes.
Okay, we now have resolution 21-194 to 21-210. Are there any questions on any of those? So we can do them as a consent agenda. About them now.
I think the hardship exemption, wasn't this addressed by an ordinance a while back, so we shouldn't have to be looking at this?
It actually went to, yes, what we agreed to do was send it to Public Works to review, and on their recommendation, we just approve it then. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's why it's on the consent agenda.
it's coming from Public Works as okay to do. Tom?
Yeah, the ordinance says that council must approve. There could be some clarity as to what that means, but I think this is a good process where we discuss it in the Public Works Committee, and if it's unanimously supported there, we'll just place it on consent. If it's not unanimously supported, then we'll just deny it outright.
You good with that, John?
All right, I guess so. It just seems a bit weak just because, okay.
Any other ones people want to look at separately? I didn't realize there was a LEAP implementation grant. That's a nice thing to have.
Gina, did you get your question about the RFP answered?
Yes. What
Yes.
we're doing with this is just giving the council permission to release.
Reissue.
But we are not actually approving the RFP.
Okay.
Maybe Jack, you can explain about your meeting with New Jersey Transit.
Yes, we had another meeting with New Jersey Transit, and they've changed the position 3 or 4 times now. The last time we spoke to them, they said they could extend the existing lease, which has 4 years remaining on it, for 5 more years without having to go to the Board of Trustees of New Jersey Transit. Since then, they've decided they want a whole new lease between the borough and transit. And we asked them for a duration, and they couldn't really promise us anything because I said, I think most sublessees would like a 10-year or 15-year sublease before they sink money into capital improvements. So they weren't able to give us an answer. So we finally concluded what we'll do is we'll go out with an indeterminate term, see what kind of proposals we get, and then go back to transit and tell them we have a great sublessee on the line, but they need 10 years or 15 years or whatever. So it's going to be more open-ended. I think the other thing we need to discuss is last time we limited it to a restaurant. And as you know, we didn't get any proposals submitted. I don't know whether that was due mainly to the length of the term or whether it was also too limiting. So we're trying to come up with a description which will result in a first-class business occupying it without being as limiting as we were last time.
Great, thank you, Jack. Olivia, do you want to just quickly talk about the costume contest? Since you're here. Or you're not here. I see you. No? All right.
So, Mayor, just a question. This is So I know that we had I think it was application for membership for the fire company.
Yes,
I'm assuming that there's an ordinance that's probably 50 years old that says that we have to approve members of the fire company. Is that something that's still necessary, Jack?
Well, you're right, it is in the ordinance, it's probably at least 50 years old. But because they serve as the official borough fire department, I think that's why it's in there, so the council has some control over it.
Okay.
well,
You
and I
know,
think,
and then it's in the consent agenda,
yeah, it's nice to just be able to thank them and,
that too.
Yep.
at the council meetings, because getting volunteers is always difficult, so we like to make a fuss. But, I know.
So since Tom isn't here, I'll make the fuss. Thank you. I walked past the page for volunteering for the fire company. I think it was 2210. What was the person's name?
Caroline Blanchard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Glenn, did you want to say something on that?
I did, just so the council understands, and good evening, everybody. So the fire company actually is an independent organization that serves at the pleasure of the council. We're under ordinance and we're under stipend from the municipality to the fire company. So that is why the council has had to approve through resolution, because you're taking on the responsibility of insurance for those people as they were a borough employee once they do this. So I've worked with Tom. We have streamlined it, the whole process with Anthony and Tom. And I would say in the last 2 to 3 months, it's gotten to be a lot faster and easier. And I do applaud that and appreciate that. As we actually did lose a few members because the process was taking so long for background checks, physicals, and everything else that's required. So I just wanted to clarify that for everyone. That is why the membership comes up. It is in the ordinance that a resolution shall be passed, and we'll go on from there. I also want to say that Caroline actually is an employee that the council and Tom hired recently, and thank you. It's what we're trying to do, where we can hit a couple goals and a couple jobs with one person. So thank you very much.
But one other point, the ordinance actually, the fire company appoints the member just with the consent of the council.
Okay.
So Glenn, do you
Uh-huh.
think that that ordinance should be revisited? Is there something that we can do to help streamline the onboarding processes?
Nope. The ordinance really just states that the council's aware of the person, that Anthony, Tom, and myself have done our jobs, and that the person has a clean background, is of sound mind and body, and good health, and can serve the borough. So it's really, the ordinance is pretty straightforward.
Any other
On a
questions?
positive note, I'll just want to point out that she has a Basking Ridge address, and so I think it's great that somebody who lives in a different borough is willing to help out here as an employee to do double duty, as you pointed out, Chief Miller. So, kudos to Caroline.
Thank you, Glenn.
Any other council questions about the resolutions? If not, I'll move them.
I just wanted to see if Olivia was back. Are you there, Olivia? She's not. Okay.
Hi, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm so sorry. The children beckon and call, so and then they're crazy loud. So I apologize. Are we good to go now? Is that all right?
Costume contest. Just
Contest, right. Okay, I'm here. Hi, everybody. I don't even have my glasses on, so I can't really see you. So I apologize for that as well. So the costume contest. So this is a combination, obviously, with recreation. And I'm going to say it was, I guess, Leah's brainchild at this point. So I'm thrilled to be partnering with recreation for doing this, because we couldn't do the trunk or treat. And we know Halloween is such a big event here in town, and it's really important for everyone to partake. So we're really excited to put something together that's not as, I'm going to say, crazy. As we know, the trunk or treat tends to be rather busy. It's very popular, which is wonderful, but we just don't have the resources right now to be able to manage that size of a crowd, particularly in a pandemic environment. So that being said, we decided to come up with something that would allow folks to kind of flow in and out rather than gather significantly in one space. And that would include bringing back the town trick or treat aspect, which I believe a lot of businesses were still sort of participating, but there wasn't really anything formally organized. And there certainly wasn't anything along the lines of managing traffic and such, especially in the All-Cut Square area. So hopefully we'll be able to work a little bit more with police and make sure that either crossing guards or a couple of police officers are on duty that day in that space, so that if kids and families are walking across the street and doing whatever they need to do for trick-or-treating with the businesses, they can do that safely. And then coming by the train station, which is why I'm here tonight as well, to make sure that we could use the train station, ask for permission for the space, because we would like to use the inside space, not the kitchen area on that side, but obviously the bigger room, where we're going to set up some decorations and have our judges, preferably inside. Will depend on obviously the weather. If we can have a nice day, hopefully, then we'll spread a little bit outside. But for the most part, we'll use the inside space for folks to walk in and out and have some decorations, a little photo area. We have a couple other tricks up our sleeve for fun, things along the lines of history and telling a fun story and all of that, but no details are there yet for me to share. But for right now, it's going to be, just something simple and fun. Grab some candy, learn about recreation, learn about downtown Bernardsville, and then, costume contest. Prizes will come from the businesses. Leah has been working on reaching out to our local businesses for some prizes. So it should be a fun day. So hopefully it will, again, help with flowing traffic in and out of the space. So there's not, 2,000 people in the small train station parking lot area in a couple of hours. So
And that's from 3 to 5, is that what the
3
time?
to 5 on October 30th. Yes, it's a Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Chad? All
Yeah,
right.
so with that, Mayor, I'll move resolutions 21-194 through 21-210.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Zamara,
Yes,
Mr. McQueen,
Yes.
Ms. McCready,
Yes.
Mr. Marino,
Yes.
Mr. Hammond,
Yes.
Mr. Donahue,
Yes.
All right, now time for reports. My update, September 14th, there was a mayor's call to go over the recovery process from Ida for Somerset County. We were fortunate enough that we didn't have the kind of damage other towns had, but I think the county did a good job moving things forward. September 14th, I also attended a Zoom meeting to talk about the energy aggregation program with Concord Energy Services. And we also had, I think, the Johanna from the Environmental Commission, and I think, John, you were there, and who else was there? And what we're going to do is schedule a presentation to the full council at our next meeting so that everybody can ask questions and learn what that program's about. I think, Jeff, you were at that too, the Zoom meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, on the 15th, there was a Somerset County Social Services joint meeting, which was really very interesting. It was wellness, health promotion, and violence prevention for the LGBTQ plus sexual minorities. The speaker was from Rutgers, was Philip McCabe, and it was really a lot of really good information, things that I did not know. A lot of, the gender issues, what kind of terminology to use, and I will share that information with the council because I think it's valuable information to have, good resources. I attended a presentation on the 14th on Lean Six Sigma by John, is it Muka from Adaptive Lean, who was presenting to all our department heads that our administrator brought in. And the basic idea is coming up with better ways to get things done. It was really well done, and kudos, Tom, for bringing him in. On the 15th, I bagged at ShopRite for an hour for their Bag for Hunger program, which is always fun. I was amazed though at how few people bring their own bags, because beginning in May, they're not going to be giving out bags anymore. So we probably should start working on getting that message out. On the 15th, Tom and I met with Chris Colley and Joe DeMarco to start the discussion on the redevelopment agreement. I also had a cultural arts committee meeting, which I guess, Christine, you can report on. And then on the 18th, I attended the Health and Wellness Fair. And again, Leah Horowitz, our program coordinator for recreation, did an amazing job coordinating that whole event. A lot of local businesses were there. It was a beautiful day. Attendance was light, and people kind of drifted in and out, but I think the concept was terrific, and we talked about next year combining it with the 5K so that we get a little better participation. On the 19th, I had the honor of participating in Kyle Williams' Eagle Court of Honor, which we held down at the boathouse at Borough Hall. And it was a beautiful ceremony. He got a lovely plaque from Senator Bucco, and congratulations to Kyle. On the 20th was the ribbon cutting for Community in Crisis. Again, Senator Bucco and Assemblywoman Dunn were there. Very good turnout for that. And they've done a beautiful job in renovating that building. And they're trying to do more work in the community and inviting the community in. So if, I'm sure they'd be happy to take you on a tour of the building if you stop in one day. I attended a webinar on case studies in dam removal, still looking at all the different, and actually Doug was one of the presenters talking about the steps we've been taking in research and the testing and all the, who we've consulted. So that was nice to have our own town showcased. The 21st, Tom, John McDowell, Ted Voss from the Environmental Commission, we and myself walked downtown with John Stuckey of Volta to look at locations for the electric chargers they provide. And I scheduled a meeting for him with Brenda Kernan to look at the shopping center parking lot. We're expecting him to send us a proposal, which the council can then review. His are installed for free. They have an electronic screen for ads and messages. So I think that's where their revenue stream comes from. The 22nd, I attended the Somerset County Planning Committee meeting, and we heard about the Cultural and Heritage Commission's long-range plan. They do have a survey for residents to complete. Actually, I should put the link in the chat, but we don't have a chat, do we, anymore, Anthony? Maybe we'll put it on our website because it's really worthwhile. They're asking questions about how you use county facilities and working on, how they can better serve the county. So I will give that to Anthony. They will also be having public hearings on the county preservation plan. I think the next one is the 28th at 2 p.m. and that's on the county website. The entire plan is up there if you want to look at. It covers their open space, recreation, historic preservation, and it's all on their website. The county call on the 23rd, they were telling us there's now a disaster recovery center in Manville. They have multi-agency response centers called MARCs in North Plainfield, Bound Brook, and Manville. There are still 122 people sheltered in hotels, and they are searching for long-term housing for them. Disasterassistance.gov is the place to go to file claims if anyone has damage from Hurricane Ida. COVID update from Dr. Reddy. Only 65% of 12 to 17-year-olds are vaccinated, and that seems to be where the majority of the new cases are coming from. So they did meet with all the county school superintendents to talk about holding clinics in the schools. We met on the 23rd, the Land Use Committee, to review the draft agreement. On the 24th, I did a wedding in Basking Ridge because The mayor was ill, so I pinched hit at the last minute. And then on the 24th, we had the ribbon cutting for Game Changer, which was really well attended and a really nice event. And that's it for me. Any questions?
Next
question,
year,
but I
let me
just
know
think-
about the bagging. I want to do it with you.
Well, you know,
Right.
because they called me and I think they had 2 police officers and former Mayor Suey had said they would do it and none of them showed up. I was the only one there bagging. So I was
Next year, you text me. I'll go bag.
with me because it's really
It's one of my talents.
I was gonna say, I would help too.
All right.
Didn't know about it.
You know, they were-
If I could amplify on what you said about the vaccinations, Mayor, there's a vaccination clinic tomorrow, Tuesday, from 3 to 7 at the train station. No appointments necessary. And for those people who want to get a booster, if they qualify, you can also get a booster as well as those people who might want to get a vaccination for the first time.
Just a question, Jeff. You can only get a booster if you have the Pfizer vaccination, yes?
Actually, according to Dr. Reddy, they would also do Moderna. So I think, and in fact, that's on their flyer. So there may be a little bit of confusion there. I'm going to try to see if I can
Yeah, I know
clarify that.
they were offering Moderna, Pfizer, and J&J at the clinic, but I have not, I think Pfizer was the only one approved for a booster so far from the,
Yeah, but if you look at their flyer, they said Moderna and Pfizer. So the flyer might be wrong. I don't know. I have to find out.
or worst thing, you go down and ask, you know, if you want to get one, and they say no.
They did send a smart 911 about that today.
Yeah, yeah, and the phone call, yep.
But to the point about the people in the 12 to 17-year-old age bracket, there's a good opportunity. It's after school, can do it and check that off that box.
Yep. Okay, administrators report.
Well, I just want to report that we have over 100 survey results that were physically mailed out, returned back so far. And we have about 80, we started on Friday sending out to our email list. And so we had 80 responses from that already. So if you got one at home, please fill it out and return it, and look forward to sharing the results. I also wanted to comment on our new fighter, Caroline Blanchard. She is in the Fire Prevention Bureau. She was brought on board as part of the reorganization and the sharing of services agreement that we put in place. So that decision, I think, continues to pay off for the community. I'll note too that the LEAP application was to offset some of the costs associated with that shared service. So it's a decision that continues to pay. So good job, council. That was decided long before I started. Also want to point out that resolution 21-2003, the change order, that was actually an $85,000 reduction. And so kudos to Doug and our engineering firm for paying close attention and keeping the budget well in line. Just to let council know, and I've told you already that we've sustained some substantial damage to the UV system at the sewer plant associated with Hurricane Ida. I just want to take this moment to recognize Glenn and Tom, who've spent, I think, a couple of weekends here getting a temporary fix up and running. And we are working to acquire the right equipment under an emergent basis. And we plan on submitting that to FEMA as part of the damage from that storm. And then lastly, related to Ida, I just want to remind the residents that we have a household cleanup day coming up on October 2nd from 9 to 4 at the compost facility. And you can bring a pickup truckload of items to throw away. And we actually awarded a contract for the hauling service this evening. So thank you for that. That's my report.
Thank you, Tom. You also had in your packet, everyone, the monthly reports from the department heads. Any questions on any of those? If not, would somebody like to move to accept them?
Yeah, I can move to accept them.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Moving on to committee reports. You also have Mr. Pigeon's report, and I think I saw Joe DeMarco here, so we will be dealing with any of their issues in executive. So Public Safety Committee, who's that? John? No, it's Gina. Yes?
Oh, no, John's the chair of public safety.
Yes.
I don't recall that we met.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. Yeah. I don't
Would be
think-
good to. I'd like to know where we are with that crosswalk by.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think we've heard back on that, have we? On the cross?
They said they were going to do it. We just don't know the timing.
Yeah. I have not heard. We'll have to figure that and find out if they've given us a date on that. It's nice they approved it at least. That's a good first step.
Yes.
We've been working on that for about 3 years, that they've changed over their inspector several times, so we may want to follow up on that too.
Okay, finance, I don't believe you.
Finance has not met, but we're about ready to enter our
Yes,
meet every other day cycle.
season, 'tis the season.
Yeah, Tom, I just sent you a message. I proposed a date for us to maybe get together next week.
All right. Council Organization Development and Personnel Committee.
We did meet on September 8th last. We did a discussion about adopting, revising the employee manual. And that's ongoing. There've been some changes to that that are mandated by the state. And there was also some discussion about us internally that had to do with the holiday schedule for employees, as well as paid military leave. That's moving forward. We talked about discussions related to a collective bargaining agreement with both our dispatchers as well as Department of Public Works. We had made offers which were accepted to fill the 2 police officer slots, and those individuals, at least as of September 8th, were going through a background check. I haven't heard anything back, so I assume that they've passed that so far. We did move forward to hire a new driver laborer for Public Works, and I think that was approved actually at the last meeting of the council. Discussed moving forward with KPIs for the department heads. And this will be done at or introduced at the time that they fill out their budgets for the upcoming year. And then there'll be a way for our business administrator to track trends and performance, and as we move forward with implementing that. And then we did discuss also implementing the Lean Six Sigma program, which you just referred to, Mayor, in the presentation by an individual who had worked at implemented it at the Lockheed Martin. So that's, I think, positive for us to help streamline our processes and reduce waste. And then lastly, 2 items. One is that we previously discussed in August about a backlog in zoning, and that's been resolved. And then at the request of Chief Miller back in August, to encourage some of our DPW employees to become part of the fire department. Actually, we looked at this, and 60% of our DPWs, in fact, do respond to fires currently. And that's the report.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, we did have on the resolution we accepted the revisions to the personnel policies. So I think that's already completed, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're under a deadline.
Yeah, for the work on that, because now at least, we've incorporated all the new inclusion and diversity policies. Public Works, that's Gina.
Yeah, so just try to hit the highlights here. The dam remediation, we're still waiting on the sediment sampling to the lab results to come back. That was done the end of July, so we're waiting on that to move forward. The Polo Grounds walking path, we're also waiting on the DEP to come back with the status of our 2 permits, which we filed back in April. We were hoping to have it back and had done the work in 2021, but it looks like that'll now have to go out to 2022. Probably, hopefully if we can hear back from them in the next few months, that we can put the bid out in January and hopefully start construction around April. Project should take about a month or so to complete. Lots of road updates. We also had the Bernardsville ad hoc train committee, the quiet zone. For the quiet zone, we had a kickoff meeting with the FRA that was organized by Public Works. Lots of stuff to consider and things to move forward, so that we're leaving that with Doug for some studies that need to be done and see what we need to do in order to move forward. I don't know, my take was that it doesn't look so promising, but there might be some other things that we can do to help offset the quiet zone. And I do owe the ad hoc train committee members who weren't able to make the meeting an update, which I have not yet done, but I took a lot of notes. So I'll send those out.
All right.
That's it for Public Works.
Yeah, thank you. Land Use Committee, we did meet just this last week. We were working on the agreement, which we'll be discussing in executive session. Any council liaison reports?
Yeah, I guess I can finish the planning board. Obviously, you saw several pieces that came back from the planning board at this meeting. The other primary piece was the electric vehicle ordinance from the state. And just know, and this gets to a question for Jack. So we're going to now at our next meeting revise our downtown ordinance to update it from one EV parking space per 50 spaces to 1 per 25 to be consistent with the state ordinance. Jack, there's got to be a better way for us. So when we write an ordinance, right? Look, we live in 2021. To have some kind of a record to where remnants of different stuff fall in other ordinance. So for example, if this issue wasn't raised by me just from pure chance of recall, the other ordinance would have stayed on the books and been inconsistent. I think we're dealing with another issue tonight with the whole pinball machine item, where I believe in the downtown zoning ordinance, we permitted arcades as a permitted use. However, there's an old ordinance, I think from years ago, where that limited to four. There's got to be some kind of mechanical way that we can link these things, so that way we don't have remnants sitting around in different places.
Yeah, the best way to do it is probably do a word search online in the code online, but it's not a perfect process, and often we end up finding them after the fact. But it's better since we've got an electronic code as opposed to the old paper copies. But I agree with you. And some of those old ordinances, like the arcade ordinance, goes back probably 50 years as well.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm in looking out for, what is it, P for pool, and
yeah.
When I read that language, so
Yeah.
But that was it from the planning board. The other committee that I sit on, which is the housing and zoning committee, I don't think we met our last time. I think it was canceled and rescheduled. Actually, that's not true. We did meet, and it was a quick meeting because there wasn't a whole lot that was relevant. Let me rephrase.
Anyone else?
The Environmental Commission did meet on September 8th. I have, we first of all want to welcome a new member to the Environmental Commission, Pam Kenworthy. It's always good to see more residents volunteer and become part of the process.
We appoint her?
Sorry?
I don't remember. Did we appoint her? The council?
I think she was brought on as a consultant. I don't think it went to the council.
It's actually a mayoral appointment if she's a member.
I think it was a consultation. I may have misspoke when I said member. I will check with Johanna if she's not on. Is she on the line?
No, surprisingly, she usually always here, but she's
Yes,
not.
she is.
Okay, let me follow up on that and find out the exact status. Yes. We're creating an events calendar to enhance the website. There was further discussion about electronic vehicles, and as was already mentioned by the mayor, a member of Environmental Commission was at the meeting with Mr. Stuckey, and we're also moving forward for those properties that are owned by the municipality, which may not be amenable to something that Volta would do to look at grants for implementation of chargers. We did discuss the dam removal potential or versus remediation, as members of the committee have been going to some of these webinars as well, and are waiting for the report from the engineers relative to both the silt as well as potential for runoff. They see there was a discussion about grants for a water gold program. This was brought forward because we in part already meet the many of the requirements. We have a storm ordinance, we have a water plan. So this would be beneficial to the borough in terms of an analysis of the quality and quantity of our watershed. So we're looking forward into what other requirements would be necessary to pursue a grant to be able to designate ourselves as a water gold community. There was some discussion about illegal dumping at the Moraine Crest area. We will want to actually move forward to ask the Department of Public Works whether there are enough visible no dumping signs at that property. We've been doing the multiple episodes of outreach on a variety of topics at the farmers market. To what the mayor said earlier about the plastic bag ban coming forward in 2022, we have had a number of reusable bag giveaways at the farmers market, and I guess those will have to be accelerated. And then there was some communication with relative to the recently passed stormwater ordinance management because of some misconceptions of from homeowners as to what it actually said. And so we did follow up on some of those educational sessions. That's it.
Thank you. And it's funny, talk about Moraine Crest. The other day I was driving on Mount Airy and I saw a guy from across the street bring all his brush and stuff and dump it over on Moraine. So yeah, it's happening. Matt, was there a recreation committee?
Really, the recreation committee, the last meeting we had was right before the presentation at our last council meeting. We haven't yet scheduled a follow-up with that, but I imagine that will be the next piece. And then real quick, I know Christine has her hand politely raised.
Oh.
Their historic preservation advisory, there hasn't been a whole lot, but Dan Lincoln emailed the group to say that he had met, it looks like a couple of days ago, with a teacher at Bernardsville Middle School about possibly arranging a tour of the Olcott Historic District for like a 5th grade class. And he said he believes it'll take place in the fall. He's going to send us a report of that meeting. I thought that would be it's a neat idea for the class, but B, we have a lot of history here. And so maybe we'll see what comes of that. But by our next meeting, I should have more of an update as to what might happen with that.
All right, thank you. Christine. Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
I was trying to be a good student. I have updates on a few different things. The first up is the library. Some of you I attended the library board of trustee meeting, and some of you may have gotten in the mail an invitation not to show up for their fundraiser because it's a virtual fundraiser. They want everyone to stay home and bid on silent auction items, which closes on November 8th. So please go to the library website for information on that. There are some great prizes. And again, do not go to the fundraiser, just go online. Stay home in your pajamas. The other thing they are doing, which kind of relates to us looking at our ordinances, is they're looking at their policies and making updates to things that haven't been updated in a long time. So it's a good practice, and I commend them for working on that. You know, they are amending policies related to COVID, but now they're kind of going across the board to see where things have been stagnant in their policies. So they're doing that little by little going forward. The other thing they implemented, which is great, I went to the library today, and on the bottom of your checkout ticket, it says that I saved $55 by using my library. So for all of you who like to save money, I think that's a great feature. I didn't go out and buy the books, so I saved $55 just by borrowing them. I thought that was pretty cool. The second thing the mayor mentioned is that the Cultural Arts Committee met this past month, and we have a lot of items that we're still working on. The mural is done, but it's going to be getting a nice clear coat protection on it in the next couple of days because the weather is cooperating. So that's, if you see people working on the mural, that's what it is. We're also working on putting a plaque to commend and thank those who contributed to the mural, which is a great idea. I think people will like to see that. The other items that are being worked on are a video, a nice video showcasing Bernardsville and all the wonderful things about Bernardsville. And the other item in the works is a great use for our storefronts, which is an art show. So in the past, we've had Art Walk, but this is taking it a step further, where almost every business, not just the galleries that we have or have had in the past, but everyone has art to display in their storefronts, even potentially with cooperation of those who don't have a store currently renting. We're hopeful that they will allow us to display art in the front. I think that's our goal, but we'll see. We're working on it very hard. Other items were potluck dinner. We're trying to see if that can come to fruition in the next month or so. And it's also Hispanic Heritage Month until October 15th. So it's funny that I was in the Bernards Avenue area yesterday and there was a live band on someone's front lawn, which I thought was amazing. And I said, this is not an official event, but it's awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool. We had an unofficial Hispanic Heritage Month concert yesterday for those who live in that area. On October 4th, I saw this announced in Aura Dunn. She's our legislative district rep. In her newsletter that the DMV mobile unit is going to be in Mendham on October 4th. So they're taking our idea, which is great. Anyone who didn't get a chance to go to Bernardsville, you can potentially register for the Mendham one. Again, that's October 4th. And there was also an announcement by the Somerset County Planning Board that there's a roadway safety event that's taking place this week, Wednesday, the 29th. It's virtual. You just have to register in advance. So there'll be discussion groups on ways to make our roads safer. Not on the list was Bernardsville, but there is a general section. So if you want to go talk about Bernardsville or listen to the planners talk about Bernardsville, please register and attend. The website is somersetcountyroodsafety.eventbrite.com. And if you want to email me, I can send you the link.
Thank you. And also, I know there also are raffle tickets with the library auction. So if you don't want to participate in the auction, you can still buy the raffle tickets. They are selling them at the library. And I think they'll be at the farmer's market. I know they were there last week. I don't know if they'll be there again, but you can also, buy a ticket for the event, even though you're not going. So there's a lot of different ways to contribute. And that's for the foundation, which helps to support the budget for the library. So it's a good thing. Also, just to add to the cultural arts, we're trying to do an international potluck. So, with different countries. I think that was, and I just asked Leah if she could help us with a salsa night, maybe a salsa dance night for cultural heritage for the Hispanic Heritage Month. So we got a couple of things coming up. Thank you, Christine. And I noticed on the thing for the road safety that none of our roads were on there, but maybe by participating, we may get a road on there. So
Mayor, could I add one thing for the library? At the library for the foundation fundraiser, they're also selling mystery bags, which have coupons up to, and other items up to $108 for $20 or $40. And they're there right on a big table at the library. So, I know about it, so I just wanted to add it. That's
yeah,
right.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
And since you're already on video, do you want to talk about the Winter Farmers Market?
Sure. I sent a very late, I sent a little note around for a proposal, and it basically, the winter market for the last 2 years has been popular, and the vendors want to continue it. I mean, it's their livelihood. I think it boosts the downtown, and the shoppers like it. So, and because of COVID, I don't think there's any indoor space that would be right. I mean, COVID hopefully will disappear, but it's a little hanging in there. So outdoors would be good as long as the farmers are willing to do it. And they did in the freezing cold. And I think Public Works cleared the parking lot in that huge snowstorm. So it worked very well. And we did have some volunteers for the winter market, which helped tremendously. It helped me because being there all the time is a lot of work. I know Jeff and Christine have helped, and some other members have helped. So if you can get the word out, I could use some volunteers. That would be great. We do have some young men who are helping us, and they're terrific. I think it's not premature to say that the market's been successful. The farmers are saying and they don't usually tell me how well they're doing, but they said they're doing very well. I think it has a lot to do with COVID. There's nothing else to do, and we've become a destination. So we're pretty crowded, and we appreciate that, the borough has approved it for the last winter market for the last 2 years, and certainly the farmers market for the last 27 or 28 now coming up.
Ed, what are the dates for the winter market? Did you have?
So what I'd like to do, if we can, is, and you've done this in the past, and in fact, I sent I guess I could try to call it up. You did an extension from the market. The summer market ends November 20th. We would like to have 2 dates in December just to keep the continuity going. So that would be December 4th and 11th, I think. Let me just double check.
Yeah, it's on page 84 of our packets.
Oh, 84. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Well, not your packet, but our packet.
Yeah. Well,
that was a great summary that you gave us.
Okay. And so the winter market itself would be from January. We got to get the other calendar.
January 8th to March 26th.
Oh, Christine, you're stealing everything. Okay, but thank you. Yes, so it'd be beginning of January to middle of March, end of March. So yeah, same as last year. And So yeah, thank you for, being so up on this. So yeah, that's about all I have. And yeah, so I don't, if you need a vote, or I think last time, I'm not sure. I think maybe you voted after, well, I don't know. Well, you know what to do. So I'll leave it in your hands. That's all I have to report, unless you have any questions.
Yeah, I think, Jack, what do we need? Do we need to do a resolution?
I think we've done it by motion in the past because it's been so
Yeah,
long term. So if you just do a motion approving those dates tonight, then we'll
okay.
have something in the record.
Do I have a motion to approve the winter market as
I'll
proposed?
move that we approve the winter market for the dates listed by Ed. December 4,
I'll
11,
second.
and January 8th and
Second.
March 26th.
Okay. Do we need just an all in favor? It's fine.
Yes, voice vote is fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, go for it, Ed. Thank you. And thanks for,
Thank you so much. And Christine, thank you much.
yeah,
Was that was that for the extension of the regular market, or that motion was just for the winter market? I think I just heard winter market.
No, I mentioned all the dates, including
I'm sorry.
December 4 and 11.
Okay, I
Yes,
didn't catch that. So that's all right. Okay, I will mark that down.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Chris.
okay. I don't think we had any correspondence other than the request for the arcade thing. Any unfinished business?
Yeah, the only piece of unfinished business I had, Mayor, Tom, was there any movement on getting some of the low-hanging fruit, for lack of a better word, from the rec committee, getting those budgets back in front of us for approval? Or when can we expect those?
So we have a comprehensive staff meeting scheduled for this week. We weren't able to do it last week due to vacation conflicts.
That's fine.
Okay. Any new business?
I mean, there's just the one on the agenda, Mayor.
What?
There's one on the agenda, obviously.
Yeah, but sometimes people have their own, so I'm just,
No, I don't have any, but I just wanted to mention, and I couldn't get a word in, so I probably should have raised my hand, like Christine. The Board of Health met
yes.
as well earlier this, I guess it was last week. And so they talked about there's been lots of talk about the dead deer that we have in town and the smell that it's causing, and how people, should remove them from their properties and such. So they put a link on our website. I think we did that, right, Anthony?
yes.
To the
Yes, that's on the website. Yeah.
Fish and Wildlife. So it's not really anything that does, that our animal control does or that Board of Health does, but that's what they decided to do. So if anybody has any questions about it, there is a link on the website to the New Jersey Wildlife website. So that's all.
Thank you. I think I also saw something, I think it went on our Facebook page too, because I know I remember seeing a notice about it. So good. Thank you for getting that information out. The other thing, we have 10D is a request for arcade in the downtown zone. And again, this is now it's allowed by our new zoning, but it's in conflict with another. So at this point, we're going to refer those ordinances to Jack. Who is the right person to rewrite that? Would it be the Housing and Zoning Committee or
the planning board? I think it's, send it to me. I'm unfortunately both.
But this section 4 is actually a police power ordinance as opposed to a zoning ordinance. So I think the council has to determine whether you wish to, as Anthony, I think, stated, repeal the ordinance in its entirety, or we could change the number to the maximum number permitted by the zone district.
do we have, I don't think the zoning had a maximum number, did it? The new,
Or maximum number permitted by the planning board.
It's the easiest thing to do, Mr.
Yeah.
Pigeon. What's the fastest, easiest, most streamlined thing to do?
Well, the question is, does the council want to continue requiring a license for arcade games? This goes back to it goes way back. Ordinance 627, whenever that was, sometime prior to 1993. And probably when, arcades, electronic games were coming into fashion, and, a lot of towns adopted these.
I don't see a reason to
why would you want
have
to
a license.
what? purpose of it?
I'm sorry.
What?
What would be the purpose of having a license? What? Okay,
You got me.
Well, I think
Hey, money?
arcades have been around before 1993, Jack. But I think it probably had to do with some sort of regulation potentially related to gambling or games of chance and those things of that sort. But why don't we just repeal the ordinance?
Yeah, I'm
That's-
Can we
fine with
just
that
vote
too.
this tonight?
That's certainly
Arcades,
clean.
I mean, arcades are back in vogue now. I mean, they're towns, they're putting them in and people are coming and playing. I mean, they're a hot
Yeah.
business now again.
We as the council have talked among ourselves that, how great it would be to have some of our empty buildings be used for arcades. Yestercades, for example, has been a
Yep,
great commercial
uh-huh.
enterprise.
Yeah.
We can introduce an ordinance by title only. So if you wish, we could introduce an ordinance tonight entitled an ordinance repealing section 4-3 of the Borough Code entitled automatic coin or electronic amusement devices. We could have the second reading.
on October, 12th.
I think we should, I would vote that, we introduce 4-3 to repeal it. I agree with that, Jack.
We'll move to introduce, go ahead.
I'll move to introduce to repeal 4-3 automatic coin or electronic music devices.
By title.
What's the date?
Second reading will be October 12th.
Public hearing.
Have a public hearing on October 12th.
Second it.
Roll call. Oh, no, we do it all in
The
favor.
You
voice.
can do a voice vote for introduction.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I will
Opposed?
submit the ordinance to Anthony in the morning. It'll be very simple.
Right.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right.
As long as the music man doesn't come to town, we're going to be fine.
This may have been adopted originally in response to one particular arcade. That's how a lot of ordinances come about.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have our second public session. So if anyone from the public would like to speak, now is the time to do so. Please raise your hand and give your name and address. Anyone from the public who would like to speak? I am not seeing any. So I will close the public session. We are not coming back from the closed session, are we? Coming back into public?
No, Mayor.
No, okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn to an executive session?
I'll motion that we adjourn to executive session.
I'll second.
And we're considering contract negotiations. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, those of you that attended, thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.